It's Monday, September 16th, 2024, and that means it's time for your Mining Disrupt News Surge. As always, everything I say should be taken for entertainment and or education purposes only. I am not the guy to get your financial advice from. Also, if you're interested in partnering with us as a sponsor, please reach out. And finally, but certainly not least, you can get your tickets to the Mining Disrupt Expo happening in 2025 up in Fort Lauderdale, a little bit north of Miami this time. Tickets, link in the description down below. The price of Bitcoin is $59,272 as of my recording this on Sunday. We are looking at 1,687 sats per US dollar. I've said this so many times, but I really am a broken record. The on-chain fees, the transaction fees are so low. We are now under, this is the first time I've seen this in a little while, under 200,000 unconfirmed transactions, and the public nodes are still hovering a little above that 19,000 mark. Samson Mao is commonly talking about the Godzilla candle, the Omega Godzilla candle, the Omega candle, all sorts of really big green candles. And while we didn't get a true full-fledged Godzilla on Monday, we did get a baby Godzilla candle. So that was pretty nice to see us closing in on 60,000 again. On Tuesday, Michael Saylor released his keynote speech. He's given this one or some version of it before, but he went over once again something that he isn't usually doing. And towards the end of this week's news surge, I'm going to be sharing something that Michael Saylor says, and it's a one-word answer to a slightly more complex question. But at the end of the day, his message is quite simple. On the topic of Saylor, he released a keynote speech that he did, and we see here his price prediction. By 2040, he sees the bear case being 3 million per coin, the base case, Honey Badger, middle of the road, 13 million, and the bull, notice how all these have laser eyes on them, $49 million per Bitcoin. The question you should be asking yourself isn't, well, how does that help me out? That's 20 years away, as we see here, 2045. The question you should be asking is, do I know of anybody else that has done as much research into some asset as Saylor has done on Bitcoin and has this bullish of a projection for that asset and is so convicted about said asset, aside from Bitcoin, that they're willing to put multiple billions of dollars of their company into that asset? If you don't, then it might be worth paying attention to what MicroStrategy and Saylor is doing here. Moving on to Wednesday, the UK Parliament proposes a bill to classify Bitcoin and crypto as personal property. Not a whole lot to say on that except thumbs up. Typically, the only piece of advice that I give people watching these videos is that it's a good idea to study money, understand what Bitcoin is, how money at large works. But today I'm going to make a slight exception to that and tell you another piece of advice. And that piece of advice is that anything that potentially stores your seed phrase to be used by them without your knowledge or potentially shared with the government is probably something that you should deeply consider if that's what you want to do. The other piece of news coming out on Thursday is some mining news. This is from Solo Satoshi. He says that he is proud to announce that they've officially distributed over 3,000 BitAxes globally. And I've got some more mining news, and then I have a giveaway related to Solo Satoshi, so stay tuned for both of those things. Next up is a tweet that Jameson Lopp reposted on Friday, and he's posted this numerous times, or reposted it. He originally posted it August 18th, 2022, and it's funny because I have a reply here that I posted January 6th of last year. He says, if you had invested $1,000 in Bitcoin 10 years ago, you'd have sold, spent, or lost it all by now. And I think that is entirely true. The biggest piece of news by far in terms of the Bitcoin world ecosystem is this right here. Michael Saylor announcing that MicroStrategy purchased another 18.3 thousand Bitcoin for roughly, let's just round it up and call it an even $1.11 billion. Now, I still have that clip to share here at the end on that point, and like I say every week, don't take financial advice from me, but hey, maybe Michael Saylor is a guy that you want to at least hear what he has to say. This interesting bit of news came out on Saturday. Power bills increased by $300 per year for each home in a Norwegian town after the local Bitcoin miner shut down. Apparently, the miner paid 20% of the area's grid fees, thus subsidizing other customers. With the miner gone, people's power bills are skyrocketing. How interesting. Well, just goes to show that there are downstream effects of Bitcoin that it's hard to really put your finger on how beneficial it is until it's no longer there. This was a second piece of news that came out on Saturday, and I am by no means an expert in the mining field, but this seems like a pretty big deal. Mechanic says, it's happening. I can't really overstate the significance of this. And then he shows a picture here, and somebody said, please explain. He said, my node is making templates, but I'm mining on Ocean. So pools make all the decisions, present. Miners make all the decisions, future. That would be a really, really good thing. I mentioned a giveaway earlier in this, and I'm not the one doing the giveaway, but by all means, follow the link below. Check this out. Solo Satoshi here says it's time for the official Supra giveaway. He's going to be giving away a hat. I believe there's a shirt. I think other people have since added more things to this little prize pool. And if you haven't gotten into the solo mining, like I haven't, then this would be something that would, I imagine, make most Bitcoiners pretty happy to get. Earlier, I mentioned Michael Saylor's single word response, his answer to a question that was more than one word. So I'm going to go ahead and end things by playing this because it is somewhat entertaining, but also educational.
Is your strategy you just don't give a shit? You're buying no matter what, like periodically?
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't really get much more simple than that. Until next week.